Hello dear listeners, join me as I traverse 100 years of horror cinema, one flick at a time. By 1949, thrillers and whodunits were swamping Hollywood. How does one stand out in such a field? By making a comedy, of course. We round out the 1940s with a smile brought on by comedy legends Bud Abbott and Lou Costello in Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer, or Meet the Killer Boris Karloff to give it its full title. Does this mean some clever flick whereby the actor, Frankenstein and the Mummy himself, Boris Karloff actually plays a killer? Is it a meta parody where Karloff plays himself and actually becomes a killer in this flick? Sadly not. We instead get a Cluedo-esque farce where Karloff happens to be in it, and only for a few minutes. Thankfully for all concerned, there is still an array of positives. The picture follows a hotel busboy, Costello, who is fired after upsetting a big deal lawyer who Costello threatens. Unfortunately for the silly oaf, the lawyer ends up dead, and now as the man who threatened a victim, Costello becomes the prime suspect. Abbott becomes the hotel detective who does his best to help out his cousin, going so far as to hide evidence and attempt to hide bodies as more begin to show up. At first, the killer seems obvious. Karloff, he's in the title. But there are many suspects, all with motive and opportunity. The conspiracy between many said visitors is made clearly early on, and in the funniest scene in the film, Karloff hypnotizes Costello and orders him to take his own life with the intent of leaving a suicide note and confession. However, Costello dim-wittedly, and through subconscious self-preservation, manages to avoid death, much to Karloff's frustration, who has the best line in the film. Eventually he picks up a knife and growls, "You'll commit suicide if it's the last thing you do," followed by an exasperated, after no less than 4 attempts to have the obedient boob kill himself. It's remarkable, even under hypnosis, the will of an idiot to cling to life. Parodies like this work in only one way, when the script and goings-on feel like they could have been from a film played straight. Every actor needs to play it straight also. That way, when the silliness begins focusing on Costello's mumbling, the audience guffaws while the players keep straight face. The beginning and ending match this perfectly. Karloff is menacing, the conspirators devious, occasional overacting from some is misplaced, and the middle of the film rests for too long on Costello, who does a fine job otherwise. When the film is concerned about being a thriller with comedic elements, it is arguably the best of the Abbott and Costello Meets series. When it falls upon Costello's hijinks for extended periods, it starts to wear a little thin. In 1948, the two comedians met Frankenstein and will go on to meet many of the famous Universal monsters well into the 1950s. But it is this picture and the Frankenstein picture, which included Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney Jr. in their most famous roles, which show the best of the bunch. Horrors and thrillers falling into farce showed that audiences were moving on, so what would the 1950s bring? More of the same, a revamp of an old formula, or something entirely new? Stay tuned, one flick at a time 1950s begins soon. Thank you for listening, and as always, enjoy.